So the plan here is to get some flowers for bees, but what I'm really trying to do is build the soil. I'm trying to improve the soil so that eventually when I do plant real bee-friendly nectar flowers, they grow very well. Everything here has been stunted. This is an ancient pasture. This has never really had any serious planting on it except for grass. I'm going to try and get 2 plantings in this season. The first one is this stuff. This is the cold season soil builder mix. We have common vetch, spring lentil, crimson clover, spring pea, spring oat, spring barley, rapeseed, flax, sunflower, mustard, and radish. I'm going to broadcast seed this stuff and go over it with the discs and just mix into the topsoil and hopefully let this grow for about 2 months and then come by and plow it back into the soil and then do another one. I have another warm season mix for later in the year. All right, welcome to the back 2 acres of the property. You've seen that 2 acres before where the bees are. That's all goldenrod and some other flowers that the bees tend to like. And that area is doing very well. The goldenrod's spreading. I leave that just for the bees. This back section, however, when we got here 13 years ago, this was pretty rough. There were 1-inch diameter trees growing everywhere. There was a lot of low blueberries and things like that. Not the nice big bushy blueberries, but like the low scrubby deer food blueberries all over the place. Just a lot of junk, and nothing was really growing out here. So what I've been doing over the last couple of years is disking this with a disc harrow a couple times a year, just try and kill those woody trees and scrubby things and wild grapes and stuff that are growing out here. Last year though, I got a rototiller and actually tilled the soil and turned it all in. And the soil actually started looking pretty good. And last year I planted buckwheat, phacelia, sunflowers, and a wildflower mix out here. However, the deer just ate almost everything down. They ate every single sunflower, most of the buckwheat. The wildflower mix did okay, but the deer got at that too. And it just kind of was a frustrating year because I put a lot of time and effort into this and the deer ate most of it. Now in the past with deer problems, the solution has been to just put a tall fence. Like around our garden, we used to have a 7-foot tall fence. However, we didn't want to try and fence this entire field. It just would have been very ugly. It would have been expensive, pain in the butt. So this year I've been studying YouTube, I've been listening to comments, and someone pointed me toward the concept of a 2-layer electric fence, which I'm going to try this year. So deer are really good at sort of seeing a fence and deciding whether they can jump over it or not. And if it's, a 6-foot tall fence or a 4-foot tall fence and they can see the top of it, they're going to leap right over it. The idea behind the 2-layer fence is that they have really poor eyesight and they can't really judge depth perception as well as they can just judge like the top of a fence. If they don't know how tall something is, they won't try and jump it. And if they don't know how far it is, they won't try and jump. So this is sort of a confusing visual thing. If they do get close to that first wire, they're going to get shocked. The second wires also shock them. But because they can't quite judge how tall it is or how far it is, they get confused and they just don't bother trying to jump. So that's the concept behind the 2-layer fence, and that's what I'm going to try and put in today. So everything I use today is going to be linked in the description. I got all this stuff on Amazon. So these are the fence posts I'm going to be using today. They're plastic step-in posts. They don't have to be tall, and that's kind of the beauty of the fence. It's not a big, ugly fence. it's low, and it's just sort of proportioned correctly to confuse the deer. Okay, second layer. Posts are in, and now we're going to string wire 2 layers of wire on the inside and 1 on the outside. You want to make sure all of your wires are connected. So you want to make sure the inside of your fence and the outside of your fence are all one continuous connected line of wire. So this has to go from here and jump over. All right, that's the loop. So there's 3 parts to an electric fence. First, you get your fence, which is a wire that's continuous, touching itself all the way around your perimeter. It's attached to non-conductive posts in the ground, plastic posts or wooden posts with a plastic adapter on it so that there's no conductive material touching the ground. You essentially want your wire to be floating in midair, not touching the ground at all. Then the second part is your charger. This is the Solar Pack 12. It's a solar powered charger. It says it's good for 30 miles, whatever. And yeah, turn it on, it's charged up. So I'm gonna hang this on the fence, and then the last part is the ground. So you get your fence up, you get your charger hanging there, and the third part is your ground. Now this isn't gonna come with your charger. Most likely you gotta buy a ground kit, and that's usually just 3 posts that go in the ground, and then this wire which gets connected from post to post to post, and then to the red terminal there, and then the black gets tied to your fence. Pretty simple, straightforward. This goes in the ground to make the ground part of the circuit, so that when an animal is touching the ground with their feet, and then they touch the wire with their nose, they connect the circuit, and that's how they get zapped. So these got to get pounded in the ground and connected with a wire. So the wire just gets connected to this thumb screw here, and then we get connected to these little connectors on the ground stakes. Okay, so now we have the charger in place, solar powered, it's all charged up. Our wires go all the way around, all the wires are tied to each other, and they're essentially floating in space on the plastic non-conductive supports. The ground is connected here, and it's going through 3 ground stakes, and it's probably 25 feet long. And now I'm going to connect this to the wire using copper wire. You could just use the same tape, but I want something a little bit more straight, conductive. So copper wire from here down, connected to the tape. Power's on. And it's clicking. And now I'm going to use my tester here and see what kind of voltage we're getting. I'm going to do a test here, and then I'll do a test on the other side. I'm also going to test the inside here. So this, you put the ground in the ground, and then this is, pretend this is an animal's tongue right here. We'll see what kind of shock they would get. Oh yeah, that's a full 7,000 volts right there. So it's hard to see in the daylight, but that's 7,000. It's reading up 7,000, it's blinking on. So let's go check the inside one. Yep. All lit up. Okay, we're up at the far corner of the field now. We're at pretty much the opposite end of the charger. So let's test and see what kind of strength we have here. Yep, full strength. Everything is lighting up. So We get 7,000 volts all the way around the whole circle. So again, the concept here is that a deer comes over the wall here, walks up to this, and it sees a white stripe, and it goes up to investigate. If it gets shocked, it's going to get confused, and then it sees something else over there, and it's really kind of, it plays with your eyes. It's hard to kind of see how far away that other stripe is, so they just don't know how far to jump, and they just tend to avoid it. That's the theory. I'm going to set up a trail cam out here and just see what we get, see what the deer do when they come across this, and if we actually see any deer out here. But the hope is that this will all grow up and feed the bees and not the deer. So that's the story. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something, and I will see you guys on the next video.